Would you please begin with ordinance 9, which is the ordinance reminding members of council that has the two amendments that Law Director Martuccio will be happy to explain.
Ordinance number 9, an ordinance authorizing a wage increase for management and non-bargaining unit personnel, amending Exhibit A to ordinance number 100/2011 as amended, the classification plan and salaries for management and non-bargaining unit employees of the city of Cantn, declaring the same to be an emergency.
Leader Doherty.
Mr. President, we adopt ordinance 9.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that you adopt ordinance 9. Are there any remarks? Leader?
Mr. President, I move we amend ordinance 9 per the copy in front of all members.
Second.
Do you mean amendment number 1?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
So thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that you amend ordinance number 9 per the copy amendment number 1 that all of you have in front of them. Do you want to briefly, Law Director Martuccio, summarize amendment 1 one more time?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. You have read the communication and proposed the original ordinance. You had this discussed in second reading and in committee meetings. Amendment 1, which is the amendment now before you for a vote, amends the ordinance to do the following things. 1, it allows for a 2.5% raise to those people who are non-bargaining unit, non-union management. It does not include elected officials. It also limits elected officials to their current salaries. It does not enlarge them or raise their cap, so to speak. It limits elected officials who can only get raised in their next term anyway under another ordinance. And it finally, per request of several people, includes a restriction that says essentially if an employee in these categories has received a raise within the last 6 months, they're not eligible for this raise until that time period has expired. So it essentially, again, is offering raises of 2.5%, electeds are frozen, so to speak, and includes a 6-month restriction. And it corrects the mathematical errors that were in the original version, and it includes the newest reflection of the newest minimum wage in Ohio for certain positions. Thank you for your time.
And amendment number 2, the only difference, Law Director Martuccio, would be instead of a 2.5% increase, it is a 2.0% increase.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's correct. And number 2 is identical to number 1 with the exception of it is 2% and not 2.5%. Thank you.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to amend the ordinance per the copy before each of you. Are there any remarks under this motion to amend by virtue of amendment 1?
Mr. President.
Who was that? Oh, yes, Mayor. Sorry.
I just wanted to remind council and also the audience that roughly 2/3 or less than half of the money used for this has come out of enterprise funds that are not the general fund. The general fund will be affected by about $120,000 with the 2% rate and $150,000 for the 2.5% rate. The rest of those dollars are coming from other funds which cannot or would not be used for police, fire, or other general fund purposes. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Leader Doherty.
Yeah, discussions with the mayor requested that this come down and mirror ASME's contract, which usually is the case. And, you know, folks, you know, if we wanted to hire police and not give out raises, then we should have started with the police and the fire department and all those. Nobody's talking about that. Those come down, those contracts come down and are voted on with nothing. Pass. I support it too. I have no problem with that. But you know, every time we get to this group, you know what? We want to mess with them because we can. And they're the ones always getting beat up. They don't deserve this and they don't deserve that. I'll tell you what, you can get, you know, endorsements from these other ASME and the police and the fire. Well, I can't get an endorsement from this group of people. What you do, you endorse every day by them. Because what happens is, you have a problem. So what do? You call you got a constituent that calls you. They got a big problem. They want solved yesterday. So you call into the office who's in this group. Then they call somebody in another department, who's in this room in this group. Then they solve your problem for your constituent in a timely fashion that makes you all look good. That's called endorsement. Because when I call, they take care of my stuff for me. And I really appreciate that. And I think they deserve every penny of this. To be the only group in this city that doesn't get a raise. Some of them have had one raise in 5 years. That's horrible. And everybody else in the city got raised, including all of us. So let's remember that, and please support those who do an excellent job in this city. And I'm proud of them. Thank you.
Member Mack.
Thank you, Mr. President. As council persons, and I think that Leader Dockery's point is right on.
Member Mack, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're going to have to, there you go.
Better. We have to make sure that the employees of this city are treated fairly. But on the other side of that balance, we have to make sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayer funds. I mean, we are the stopgap for the money that comes out of this city's coffers. I believe the city employees need a raise. And I think where my problem is how much that raise is. I'm a lot more comfortable with, as amended, as per Leader Dockery's amendments, with a 2% raise for this group of employees, as opposed to a 2.5% raise. There's precedent for a 2% raise. We gave the police, as far as I understand, a 2% raise. I understand there's also precedent for a 2.5% raise, because that's what was given to the ASME. But you know what? Those men and women also pay union dues, but these men and women do not. And so when it comes to striking a balance, treating our employees fairly, which we must do or we will lose them, and being a good steward of taxpayer funds, 2% raise, in my view, is what I think is fair. Because at the end of the day, it may be just $50,000. That's a lot of money. And that money, like or not, could represent a police officer. And that's important to me. So I will support this as a 2% raise, but I will not as a 2.5% raise.
Mr. President, thank you. Leader?
I think it was just explained by the mayor that most of this money doesn't come out, so you couldn't use it to buy police. It comes out of enterprise funds. So let's keep it clear and clean. Okay, so those are the facts. And other facts is this group takes furloughs, have taken furloughs in the past, money out of pocket. They've got extra healthcare costs, so they got it all too.
Member West, I heard, Member Fisher, sorry. I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Mr. President.
Member Fisher.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to thank Leader Dockery for his comments regarding this group of employees. Last night I was on the phone with the chief of police last night at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and here's a guy who, by the way, for the record, is on vacation this week. This is his week off. If I get a call in the middle of the night, you can be assured of the fact that Chief Lott is going to get a call from me in the middle of the night, and he's always willing to take it. We had Dan Maglin, Kevin Monroe out at the Main Stern Center, helping out with explaining some new programs for my constituents. I have no problem trying to take care of employees and take care of our city. I will also agree with my colleague Member Mack on the amendment taking it to 2.5%. While I certainly appreciate the back and forth that we've done in both percentages, I do feel at this time that 2%, in my opinion, is a little more in line with where I'm comfortable being. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other remarks?
Mr. President,
Member West.
Mayor, can you tell us if we did the 2.5% versus the 2%, financially, where would that put us? I mean, do we have the money to provide the 2.5% raise to the employees that did not get a raise?
Mayor Healy?
Thank you, Mr. President. The difference between the 2 and the 2.5 is roughly $30,000 on the general fund. That's the actual difference of general fund dollars. It's roughly $30,000, and we would be able to make that.
You will be able to what? Make it work.
Anything else, Member West?
Mr. President, I'm just concerned that when you see people like Patty Jarosky, who worked here 6 years, and I know she slaves over, she has 12 bosses here, and she only had 1 raise in 6 years. And it's the ladies that experience the most harm. And it's, I mean, if you look at the list that was in the paper, there was the lowest was women. And, you know, our secretaries who take all of our calls, they have low pay. A lot of our departments are inadequately paid. Let's just be real about it. Some of you guys said police officers that have sitting in a classroom for a year was getting paid too low. And I think you're right in some aspects. And we need to raise them too. If the funds are here, these are people that are working very hard to the citizens of Cantn, and specifically in Ward 2. Now, a year ago, I was pushing a measure to try to bring in some monies to hire more police officers to where we wouldn't have this issue, because we would have another income or revenue generated source. And I think as we continue to get businesses downtown, our workers are going to work harder, but they're going to need to be appreciated. And when you want your garbage picked up, when you want your trash picked up, and you want the health department to go out, and you want the Laura over there in the corner to go out and address that trash that that somebody dumped in your area, you know, those are the people that we're talking about. So, you know, they're just as important, if not as important as police and fire. We need to make certain that we look at it from that perspective. Police and fire is not our only employees. Trust me, if these other ones wasn't here, we'd have much more crime. So I'm going to support that these individuals get the resources needed, and the 2.5 and or the 2 point. I'm for both of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Member West. Member Director Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stand up, would you, my folks, the department heads and the non-management, management, non-bargaining folks. You've got the street department, Department of Motor Vehicles, you've got water, you've got engineering representative, you've got collection systems, you've got water reclamation, you've got building maintenance. Thanks for turning the air conditioning on, by the way, so it's much cooler here. You guys can have a seat. If it's a difference between the 2 and the 2.5, and if it's a $30,000 savings in the general fund, I'll make it easy on you. The stipend that the mayor's asking for me to serve both as safety and service directors, I don't want it. I reject it. I'm not going to take it. So you give them the 2.5%, I reject the stipend. I don't want it. Those people are the ones that are going to have to help me out. They're going to have to cover for me when I'm not available, along with Bill Bartos over there. And I'd much rather those people have the 0.5% than for me to get the $12,000 stipend. I mean, the stipend, to be honest, is more about, you know, my wife asking me, well, you're going to take on more responsibility for no more money? Okay, I can deal with her when I get home, because she'll go out here. But forget the stipend. If it's $30,000 in general fund, you're $12,000 closer. Give it to them, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I think we have something backwards here. We always have the police and the fire and the ASME negotiations. And generally, to my knowledge, there's not one council member that's involved in the negotiations. Those are done through the mayor and his administration. And they come down here, and we go into an executive session, and we discuss what has occurred and what we feel that we can afford. Now what I'm hearing is that more or less have abused our positions because we didn't speak up during those negotiations, even though we really don't have a right to do that. And I've been around this hall here and around government for a number of years. It's always the same story. The police and the fire have the negotiations, and the ASME unions have theirs, and then it comes back to the rest of the employees. And sure, everybody works very hard. By the way, I am a firm believer in to all the council members, the only endorsements you need are your voters. And I think you should keep that foremost in mind. Not too many, a few months ago, we had a deficit, and we were all worried how we were going to make it through the year. The chances are that's going to occur this coming winter also, because it's more or less a routine thing. Sure, everybody deserves a raise, and I credit them, because most of them go above and beyond. But I think that's what we all wanted to do for our citizens. We wouldn't be working in this facility. And I thank everybody. But I also recall when we had a rainy day fund. We no longer have any of that. The newer council people probably don't even really know what that's all about. And we're sure shooting, we always have something that comes up that needs to be taken care of. But you know, with a race like this, the lowest man on the totem pole is still the lowest man when they get the raise. I have a real problem with that. They can never be brought up, because if you make $100,000 and you get 2%, doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. And if you make 20% and you get 2%, sure as heck it's a lot lower. I don't like percentage raises. I never have. I never shall. And I'm hard pressed to vote for raises when we don't have adequate police on the streets, and our fire departments are being closed 2 at 3, sometimes 3 that is risking people's lives. And those are the people we're put in office to protect. And God bless all of our department heads. I spent one Friday. I called every department except my own council office. And as God is my witness, all I got was voicemails. And no one returned my calls. That I don't appreciate from the general citizenry out there. Except one department head takes my calls, even if it's not during, and I'm not talking about the police and fire, but he takes my calls at all hours. Now, if we were flush with money, I'd be the first one to be pushing for the 2.5% raise. But you know, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. And I just don't think we're going to have the money to afford this. So I'm going to vote no on it.
Thank you, Member Smith.
I have to go round and around with this, and I just couldn't sit here and not say anything. And I'm so glad that you had these employees to stand, because you know what? Just about all of them, and I can certainly say in my ward, we go above and beyond. And I know Reverend Morgan made a statement earlier as to we should pattern after ones, you know, doing as far as having administrators to come and people to come and speak. I can truly say that the neighborhood associations in my ward, we do keep in touch. We do have people to come and discuss things with us. And when we need something done, we do go to the department heads, because you know what, I can guarantee you, half of them in here, I know their cell phone numbers. I never get a recording. I always get somebody, and they always take care of whatever it is that we're calling for. And when I can't get them, I do call the council office. And they have already said to me, okay, Chris, if we can't get them on this line, we do know other lines. And I have not had any problems with any of them, and I will be supporting it 110%.
Mr. President. Well, I'm going to definitely have to say, Warren, in all honesty, I was probably a no vote until that nice passionate speech. So, nice job. I do have some concerns, though. Okay, and part of it is, a lot of these folks that we are talking about getting a 2.5% pay increase, when we really start breaking it down, we do have a lot of employees within the city that are making the bare minimum. Okay, and they really do deserve a pay raise. We also have a large group making almost $80,000 a year. And my big concern with a pay raise is in 2011, council passed a raise, okay, for all the employees. 2 weeks later, council comes back and gives a pay increase to 9 individuals on the 8th floor. Within 4 months, a new council comes in and we're faced with a $3.5 million deficit. At the beginning of this year, we negotiated all our union contracts. Now we're giving the other employees a raise, but we're still facing a $1.3 million deficit at the end of the year. Now, Mr. Mayor, please tell me something to make me feel a lot better.
Mr. President, yeah, going back to 2011, when council was deciding based off the facts that we had at the time, you got to remember that the state budget came in after that point, and that's when we lost millions of dollars for the state action after that fact. So things did change, and again, the recession also changed as time went by. So there were decisions made based off information available at that time. Based on information available at this time, as I mentioned in the state of the city, this is the smallest projected deficit that we have faced since I've been mayor in 6 years. And so the gap is certainly going down lower and lower, and we're in a position where we're able to hire a few more police officers, we're able to take care of the people that we have by a little bit of a raise. And I just want to remind this council as well, and as Mayor Mazzarelli mentioned, she doesn't like flat percentage raises. Well, she just took one herself, as did all members of council and all elected officials. In addition to that, the police officers, the CPPA, FOP, and both ASME units received a percent increase that this council approved unanimously. And the only individuals that have not been included are these numbers which we're talking about, not just those numbers in service, but also the police chiefs and fire chiefs, which are not part of the union raises, the staff of the council office, the auditor's office, the treasurer's office, the law department, judges and courts, health department, and all those other workers that are not part of the unions. And I will add, the fire department, the fire union has not been included, but their contract comes up later in the year, and then we'll have to address that as the last unit of the city workers. But again, we try to be fair. As some get something, we try to make sure all get something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Law Director Martuccio.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the advantages of getting old, one of the few advantages of getting old, is that I can remember some things. Not always, but sometimes. I was asked to be, 3 mayors ago, I think 3 administrations ago, I was asked to be the chief negotiator for management when we would negotiate wages and benefits with all of our unions. And at the time, there was a budget director who was a bit of a lightning rod, but a very bright guy, hardworking, conservative Republican friend of mine named Rick Cantn. And after observing these negotiations in action, cycle after cycle after cycle, where 900 out of 1,000 employees would get raises through their collective bargaining and the voices they had through collective bargaining, would come down to the last 10%, the 90 or the 100 or so who weren't in unions, usually last. And they were the guinea pigs when we had to tighten our belts. And we do. I agree with everything everyone's saying. This is our family. Money's tight, we have to look at our checkbook. But this country's founded on fairness. And fair is fair. And Rick Cantn had a saying that is still true to this day, and that is, management was first with the worst and last with the least. Management was the first to step up and say, we'll pay higher insurance premiums, as Mr. Doherty recalls. Management was the first to get longevity taken away, and a host of other benefits. Management typically got lower raises than the unions because they didn't have the ability to collectively bargain, and they didn't have the ability to strike. So, as a result, some of the wage scales are skewed. I know I'm well paid, and I thank God for my job, and I thank God for the people who help support me with their taxes. Thank you. But I have some employees who aren't very well paid. We have full-time prosecutors who are advising police officers and working with them after hours on weekends on search warrants, who went through 7 or 8 additional years of school after high school, who have student loans in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $100,000, who are making incredibly important decisions in prosecuting cases. Many of them only earning $44,000, $45,000 after all that. And that sounds like a lot of money, but given where they've come from and comparing them to other folks in the city and some teachers and so on with bachelor's degrees, it's not. So as an executive officer of the city, I appreciate the chance to help influence you and at least speak a little bit on the topic. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Member Cole?
Just very quickly, with this outcome, can we make I don't know how we go about this, but I think I can speak for all of us. We work with Mr. Price, Director Price, on a day-to-day basis. And regardless of what the outcome is, please don't allow that to happen, because you deserve that as well. You've worked your tail off, and we appreciate that. But that just, once again, is a testament to the type of man you are. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member Cole. Any other remarks, Mr. President? Member Sorelli?
Thank you. Question to Law Director Martuccio. In a conversation that we had today, am I correct in the fact that yourself, as a law director appointing authority, the mayor and the auditor has the discretion to give to your own employees a 3% increase twice a year if you desire?
Law Director Martuccio.
Mr. President, Member Sorelli, yes, that's fairly accurate summary of what we said today. What happened, if you all recall, again, here's my memory, my age. At the time, then Auditor Perez said to council, instead of giving this cookie cutter 2%, 3%, they all give me the discretion to decide who needs raises and who doesn't, and give me some discretion to go up to, I don't know if it was 3%, but it is now, and up to twice a year, so that the people are well above, they can catch up. And that way I won't have to give raises to everyone, because they're my fiduciaries, and there are only a handful of them. I was given that same authority by City Council for my fiduciary employees, who are mostly the attorneys in the office, all the attorneys and a few secretaries. And I can say we haven't abused them, we haven't given out that many. We have to those people I mentioned earlier. The mayoral administration came along and said, well, okay, that's a good approach. It gives us some discretion. It gives us the ability to do merit raises, if you will. So yes, the mayor was added to that list of public officials, and that's how that came to be. Subject to their cap. The mayor makes a good point. Subject. Now, some of them have been capped by their ranges or by the fact that they have hit the top of their allowed range.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick. You know, one thing about this whole process, I'm going to use my son's language, it sucks. It really does, this whole process, because when it comes down to it, you get 4 of them, you get this group a raise, and later you get this another group a raise. I mean, I don't like us to sit down and figure out a fair process by which we handle this each and every year, so that we don't have to come down to this again. Another year goes by, you know, we got these cookie cutter raises going all around the city, and, you know, one group gets it, and another group's mad because they didn't. I mean, I just think that we have a better way of figuring, we have to find a better way to figure this out, so that it's a fair process for everybody.
Leader Doherty. Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Well, the problem is you have union contracts and there's certain things and laws, and it's not the same as this group. So there's the problem we have. That I'm being told some councilmen going to unions this year saying, ask for 3%. Now we're arguing about this group for 2.5%. And that's just ridiculous. And when I'm standing in the basement doorway of a house at 1 o'clock in the morning with 8 foot of water in the basement, and I got the service director standing next to me, I reached him that night. I had no problem reaching any of these guys. I mean, they cringe when I call them. You know, they let it ring a while. But they answer.
Thank you, Leader.
Mr. President.
Members wrong.
A question to Law Director Martuccio. When this all occurred, like 3 administrations back, did council at that time have the opportunity to do the same for their own employees, sir?
Law Director Martuccio.
meeting asks for the authority to have discretion.
Yes.
In theory, all elected officials have that ability, but some chose not to, except they use it as a system.
So just for a point of clarification, city council at that time, and I'm assuming, and I never assume, but if I heard you right, when Mr. Perez was the auditor.
Yes.
Yeah. He chose, and I don't know how it started with him, but he chose to do so and then told the other appointed authorities they could do so. And the people that were council at that time also knew that they could do so, but they chose not to. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, members, Mr. President, various elected officials have various points of view on that. Some didn't quite agree with that amount of discretion. So, as is usual, there was a spirited debate when all of these things came along. Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. President. If this council so chose to introduce that to their own body, they still have that opportunity to do that. Is that correct, sir?
Moderator.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other remarks? If it's a tie, I will vote for the 2.5% increase for what it's worth. You know, all I can think of when I heard this debate, as I hear it every week, over money, is that the governor and the majority of General Assembly must just be cackling away in Columbus. This is the fight we have. We have no money, they take it away. We try to give our employees modest wages after no pay raises, after making them pay more for their benefits, after making them take furloughs, not working at all. And this is where we come down. We come down to the fact that people want police, can't hire a police officer for a year. This money, there's not enough money here to hire a police officer for 1 year. There isn't. And police officers aren't going to work for a year. They want to work for the rest of their careers. So we need that money. And that money is in Columbus, as usual. But in any case, I will vote for this. We have the best union and non-union employees in the state of Ohio working for this city. They do amazing work. They deserve it. Any other remarks? To remind you, you are voting on the Ordinance 9 as amended by amendment number 1. Number 1.
We're voting on, pardon me,
You're going to, I'm sorry, you're going to vote on the motion to amend Ordinance 9, thank you, Leader, with amendment number 1, which is a 2.5% raise and everything the law director has told you. We all set? And I'm going to ask, rather than a voice vote, because there is not controversy, but certainly differing positions, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Doherty.
Aye.
Griffin.
Aye.
Babcock. Sorelli.
No.
Cole.
Aye.
Hawk. West.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Fisher. Merrill.
No.
Mack. Morris.
No.
6 yeas, 6 nays.
Lee, you're going to have to buy me some liquor, or you're going to have to run against me. I vote yes. And that, the amendment is, well, I'm a little premature here, as I usually am. The amendment is adopted, is passed. Now we move to the question you're going to vote on. Leader, President.
Move we adopt ordinance 9 as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that you adopt ordinance 9 as amended by virtue of amendment 1.
Mr. President?
Yes, Member Fisher.
Just a question on procedure, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Do we need to, I speak to the law director, do we need to actually vote on amendment 2, even though at this point now it would be a moot point, or does that need to be dropped before we can move to the final passage?
Mr. President, Member Fisher, we don't get to Amendment 2 unless the ordinance is amended by number 1 fails.
Okay, so we do not need to address Amendment 2, we can move forward and pass it instead. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yes, that's a good question. The question has also arisen about the president's ability to vote, to break a tie. As you all know by now, the president of the council, when a tie takes place, has the option to vote. He's not required to vote, but he or she can vote to break the tie. In this case, he wasn't actually voting on the amendment or on the ordinance, someone may say. He was voting on the vote to amend it. He wisely asked for a voice, or a roll call, because it had been a voice, it would have been equal voices floating around out there, yes and no. So he went around, and on the record, you all consented to voice votes, being to a roll call vote. Being that time, I'm of the opinion that I believe he can break that tie under law, because it was subjected to a roll call vote.
That may sound devious and sneaky. But in any case, we are, the next vote then, or the next motion is, and I think, Leader, have you made that motion?
Yes.
And it's been seconded?
Second.
So, it's moved and seconded that you adopt ordinance 9 as amended by amendment number 1, which is the 2.5% increase. Madam Clerk, roll, are there any remarks? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Doherty.
Aye.
Griffin.
Aye.
Babcock.
Aye.
Sorelli.
No.
Cole.
Aye.
Hawk.
No.
West.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Merrill.
No.
Mack.
No.
Morris.
No.
7 yeas, 5 nays, Mr. President.
Thank you. It passes then ordinance 9 as amended by amendment